Yeah, thanks, Susanna.
Right, our next speaker tonight is a very well-known speaker. I'm sure many of you know, especially people from 3rd, 4th, 5th year. And this speaker for tonight is Dr. Jen Williams. Thank you.
Hi guys, how you going? So who is not from 5th year here? A few, okay, cool. So, there we go. So, my job tonight is to tell you all how to be interns. Pertains mainly to the 5th years at this stage, but I guess eventually might pertain to all of you. So for those of you who don't know who I am or what the hell I'm doing here, I'm the Clinical Academic Fellow at Bond this year and maybe next year. So I write your exam questions. Sometimes I mark them. I've probably been an examiner for you in some of your OSCEs, and that'll probably happen again this year. So I know who you are. I'm also an emergency physician, and I work mainly at Greenslopes and at Caloundra hospitals. That's probably all you need to know about me. I'm a Taurian, and I like dogs. I'm definitely not cats, although you reach a certain age and they start following you around. Anyway, enough about me. First things first. So in order to be a really good intern, I thought I'd start right at the beginning. Shock horror, you need to pass 5th year. Okay? All right. I haven't lost anyone so far? All right. And I think the other thing that's really important in order to become a good intern is to get your head in the game. And I guess what I mean by that is you need to start thinking like a doctor. And that's really what 4th and 5th year are about. Important things that you need to do are things like ask lots of questions. So the further you get into your career, the stupider a stupid question looks. So if I don't know something on a day at work, and I say, oh, Dr. Google, people start worrying about my clinical competence. But as a medical student, if you ask the same stupid question, nobody cares, and they think it's really interesting, they're happy to answer the question. So ask lots of questions. This year, next year, whenever you get the chance, ask lots of questions. Don't ever be afraid to see the patient that you have no idea what's wrong with them. Now's the time to do it. Plenty of days a patient comes into my emergency department, I think I don't want to see this person, I've got no idea what's wrong with them. This is bad. This is because I avoided doing that when I had a chance. All right, so get your head in the game. The next thing you need to do, you guys have a break between the end of 5th year and internship. How long is your break? Don't know. About a month?
6 weeks.
Okay, cool. 6 weeks. You need to take a holiday. You need to arrive on day 1 of internship, keen and ready to go. So, my recommendation is take a holiday. Arrive refreshed. So, the next important thing is to know what it is that you guys want to get out of your internship. And I thought, you know, it's been about 100 years since I was an intern, and I kind of don't really remember what I wanted to get out of it. So now it's over to you. That's the end of my talk. What do you guys want out of your internship? To survive, all right. I'll teach you how to do that, no problem. Most of you will. That's the good news. Anything else? This is not a very high maintenance group, is it? We just want to live until the end of the year. You want to get paid? Hell yeah. Oh my God, I wanted money. All of this pain, 5 years of pain for nothing? All right, what else?
Get references to the training program.
All right, so you want to think about training programs and you want to get references, okay? Good idea. Look at that, that's a forward thinker. Top of the class. Anything else?
Experience.
Experience. What kind of experience? Oh, very good question. What kind of experience would you like?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. That's a very nice way of phrasing that. Thank you. Anything else? That's it? Seriously, that's all you guys want from your intern year?
As much time off as possible.
Time off. Cool. This somehow probably correlates with survival. Yep. Anything else? You want to do stuff? All right. Okay. So maybe excitement. Yeah. Yep. Anything else?
Don't really kill anyone.
don't want to kill someone. Okay. No killing. This one I cannot guarantee. Anything else? It's not a bad list. I don't know, what did I think? Yeah, I thought you guys would want some excitement, some interest, some experience, maybe a bit of networking. That probably relates to this. So we'll start at the top and work down. So surviving intern year is actually not that hard. Most people will, like the vast majority of you. I think the way to do it is to go in prepared. So what you can do is spend the next 9 months minimum of your life getting prepared for internships. So know your stuff. If you don't know something today, look it up. You'll feel better about it on day one of your intern year. You're going to be asked to do things that the interns that you follow around now are asked to do every day. So learn how to fill out a drug card. Learn how to put in a cannula. Learn how to interpret an ECG. Learn how to communicate with the staff members around you. Those are really important factors into surviving intern year. I think the other important thing is to go somewhere that you want to be. So either go to a geographical location that really appeals to you or go somewhere with all your friends. That'll help you to survive the year for sure. Money, you'll get paid. Unless you work for Queensland Health, in which case it's a little bit variable. But most of you will actually get paid, and you get paid pretty reasonable money. On that note, make sure that you check your timesheet. So you won't always be paid correctly. I think I've worked for Queensland Health for about 7 years, and I don't think that any one of my payslips has ever been correct. I've long since stopped checking because I just don't care anymore. It's a waste of my time to check. But as an intern, it's not a waste of your time. You probably won't be paid correctly. Check and do something about it every fortnight if you're not being paid correctly. References. Great purpose of intern year is to get references for training programs or for particular hospitals that you might want to work at. So you need to think about being a good little Vegemite every day so that at the end of the term you can ask your boss for a reference. So that means really basic things like turning up on time, being respectful. Experience, you'll definitely get it. You'll get loads, but the more you look for it, the more you'll get. So don't be afraid to ask your registrars and consultants, can I do that? Can I watch you while you do that? Can you watch me while I do this? People are very, very happy to teach in general in the hospitals, like they probably are for you guys at the moment. So the more interest and enthusiasm you show, the more experience that you'll get. Time off, I think you'll get 5 weeks. Some hospitals give it to you as a chunk. Some hospitals give it to you in some weird kind of format. So you'll get 5 weeks off. And lucky for you guys, there are so many of you that you're actually unlikely to work more than about 80 hours a fortnight. So 100 years ago when I was an intern, I worked about 120 hours a fortnight. 100 years before that, when Victoria Brazel was an intern, she worked about 140 hours a week. So these things change over time. And no killing. Well, that I definitely cannot guarantee. I'm very sorry about that. I did my internship in Flinders Medical Centre in Adelaide. So I went to UQ, and I thought, where am I going to be an intern? I wanted to go somewhere where I could live on the beach. And in Adelaide, rent's cheap enough, because nobody wants to live in Adelaide, right? Rent's cheap enough that you can live at the beach, only be 15 minutes drive from the hospital, and still actually make a decent amount of cash to put away. So I thought, I'll go to Adelaide. And the other good part is, even if I kill a few people, when I come back to Queensland, nobody will know about it. And that turned out to be the case. My advice is kill the old sick people, not the young healthy ones. All right. Does that cover everything that you want to get out of your intern year? Yes. All right. Cool. So then I thought, maybe we won't actually cover everything that you need just by covering everything that you want. So I made a little list of things that I thought we as your supervising doctors might want from you. But I thought, in the spirit of dragging answers out of you, we might try that again. So what do you think that we want to see that would make us think you're a great intern? Punctuality, absolutely. Be on time. I reckon that's my number one thing. You don't even have to go to med school to learn how to do that. You should turn up 5 minutes before your registrar or your resident every single day. Print out the list for them, and when they arrive, with a little smile on your face, give it to them. And they'll think, oh, shit, this is the best intern I've ever had. All right, easy. Be on time. Every time. To every place you have to be. Do not be late. If you are late, call ahead. Really simple. What else do we want from you? Competence. Oh, I don't really know. I'll put it on the list. I guess more than competence, what we really want from you is to know your own limitations. So if you don't know something, you should say, I don't know. And if you think you shouldn't be doing something, you probably shouldn't. So you should probably check. So actually, as an intern, we expect very little from you on the competence level. Maybe speaking English, writing a drug chart, that's about maybe fetching coffee. These are the kind of competencies that we're really, really interested in. A really good intern will be able to sort out all the cannulas that need doing, but not a whole lot more than that. So what we really want is for you to be honest, to be insightful, and to tell us when you don't know what's going on. Not too hard. Don't have to go to medical school for most of that either. What else do we want from you? Discharge summary, absolutely. Oh my goodness, this is a great intern right here. Okay. So, part of why I do emergency is because I hate discharge summaries. I can't concentrate for very long and I can't remember what happened to the patient this morning, let alone yesterday or last week. So what I really need is someone with a young brain to do a discharge summary. And most consultants are at least my age, maybe even a bit older, so they want you to do the discharge summaries because they sure as hell can't remember either. It is a KPI for most units to have discharge summaries completed within 24 hours of the patient's discharge. It serves the patients well if you have that done because they can go and see their GP the next day and the GP has the information that they need. Do not get stuck in a trap of writing discharge summaries that are pages and pages of information. Studies show that GPs read about 5 lines of a discharge summary. So work out which 5 lines are important and write them. If that's all you do, work out which 5 lines are important and write them. Mr. So-and-so came in with this, we did that, we sent him home, and we think you should do this. Simple. You don't need to write a textbook or a novel or... I mean, sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes I like to throw in, interesting pieces of information, mostly inappropriate, about my patients. I don't necessarily recommend that strategy, but at least it makes it mildly entertaining. So, especially in the emergency department where we get naked people who fall onto things quite frequently. Anyway, what else do we want from you? Yeah, we want you to be organised, absolutely. Okay, so being organised kind of relates to being on time, kind of relates to discharge summaries. But we really want you to write down the list of tasks that you need to do and finish them. And if you can't finish them, make sure whoever's on for the evening knows what they are and finishes them for you. So be organised. Write down all the tasks that you have to do and tick them off your little list. In fact, you guys probably don't even know how to write. Put it in your phone and then delete them when you're done them. Okay? You need to be organised. Again, don't have to go to medical school for that. Not that difficult. What else do we want from you?
Willingness to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. We want people to be interested. It's so tiresome when you've got people around you that just are disinterested and sap all your energy. So be interested. If you get stuck doing an obstetrics rotation as an intern, just pretend to like it. It's not that bad. It's only 10 weeks of your life. You'll be fine. You might catch a few babies, whatever. Pretend to like it. Be interested. Ask a few questions. Act like you know what's going on a little bit when it's safe to do so. Okay. What else do we want from you? All right. I think you did pretty well. So I'll add one more thing. You think I'm kidding? I'm totally not kidding. Your job as an intern is to make the doctors senior to you look good. So, if on the ward round you know the answer and your registrar doesn't know the answer, don't be a smarmy little git. Tell the registrar, this is the answer so that they can say it. Nobody likes a smart ass. Your job is to make the doctors senior to you look good. Why? Because they're the people who are going to be giving you your references. They're the people who are going to be giving you access to the experiences that you want. They're the people who are going to be providing you with the excitement that you need. They're the people who are going to protect you from your own selves when you're trying to kill patients. So for God's sake, make them look good. It's really not that hard. Easy. I guess other important things that kind of pertain to the job more than they pertain to you would be just be nice. Be really nice. It's really nice to be nice to other people. We want you to be nice to the patients. We want you to be nice to the nurses. We want you to be nice to each other. We want you to be nice to us. Not that hard. And we want you to stay cool. Maintain a sense of humour. Try and remember that your patients are people. I'm sorry if this shocks any of you. And so are the people that you work with. They're all people. So don't get too caught up in stressful situations or, personality conflicts. Just stay cool and be nice. Not that hard. So then I have to tell you some of the downsides of being an intern. It really is a lot of responsibility. You are the doctor. It took me a good 6 weeks to stop laughing every time I said to someone, "Hi, I'm Jen, I'm your doctor." And then I would go, "No, I really am." Anyway, I'm sure that was really disconcerting for the patients. So it really is a lot of responsibility. I think that what Brianna was trying to tell you about mindfulness and those sorts of things is actually really important. It's important to be aware of when you're feeling stressed, and it's important to know when your friends and colleagues are feeling stressed and to do something about it, to try and nip it in the bud. So programs like that are great, but just being aware of what stresses you out and avoiding that, finding mechanisms for managing your stress outside of the work environment, really important. Try and have a life outside of work. During your intern year, you're going to have to think about the future. This is something that will help you to make a decision about what you want to be when you grow up. So, for example, this was very easy for me. I was this. Clearly I'm that. Attention span. Oh, very simple. See, I can't even help myself from clicking a mouse. This is part of the problem. So I did that. If anyone wants this later, I can help you with your career choices, free of charge, no problem. All right. So, being a good intern is mainly about being a good person. It's about being reliable. It's about being trustworthy. It's about being honest with yourself, with your colleagues, with your patients. It's about all the things that you do every day now. You've got a really long time before you're going to get there to obtain any of the skills and knowledge that you might think that you need that will help you with all of those things. But the things that really count are the things that humans just have. Kindness towards each other. So I think intern year was a fun year. People got stressed out about it. Sometimes you got yelled at. Sometimes it was a bad day. You killed a few. But at the end of the day, most of us survived. It was a fun year. We got paid. We had some time off. So I think try and remember every day when you're an intern that actually we're really privileged to do the job that we do. We don't have to lie to anybody. We don't have to sell anything to anybody. It's really a privilege to help people, not to help everybody, but to help people every day, even if they're idiots. Questions? No questions. I've answered all your questions about how to be a good intern. Brilliant. See you all in the workplace.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, for a very interesting speech. The very next speaker we have is one of our sponsors. They often come to on many of our events, and we're very grateful to them. So for tonight, we'd like to proudly introduce MDA. Thank you.
Absolutely, I need to learn how to use PowerPoint as well. I am Kathy. I'm a relationship manager with MDA National. Most of you will have met me already. If you haven't, here I am. I have the very exciting topic of medical indemnity tonight. Now, as most of you are final years, this is starting to get serious. Okay, this is something you do need to consider because next year you will be seeing patients and you'll have to not only deal with them in an appropriate manner, but make sure that your clinical discussions are appropriate. So I won't take too long, but there are a few points I want to make tonight. Now, why is it important you have medical indemnity? This is independent to the hospital, okay? This is advice for you and you only. Okay, so people will say to you it's okay, the hospital will cover you, and for many instances they will. But there may be times where you want an independent person to talk to, someone that's not your employer, and that's where we come in. Okay, so here are a few of the things: coronial inquiry, medical board, disciplinary actions. Also remember that not only you still have to finish this year, so if there's a discussion that needs to happen with the university this year, we cover that. You also have to apply to AHPRA as well, okay? So make sure you are honest in all of your answers to AHPRA. They do cross-reference with other bodies such as the police. They don't like being lied to. Unfortunately, we have had interns who have required our assistance because they've falsely represented themselves to AHPRA, okay? So do take that seriously, but if something happens, please make sure you call us and let us know, okay? We're here to help you. Okay, so there's a few extras. Some of these will be while you're students as well. So obviously we do, as students, provide you with Good Samaritan as well. Okay, this is about you. Okay, next year, if something doesn't feel right when you're dealing with a patient, call us, okay? Or speak to another colleague. Don't just sit there and not say anything. It's really important that you have your voice heard, okay? That's why we say 24/7 medical legal advice, do call us. We are interstate. There'll be a lot of you that are probably going to think about going home or somewhere else next year. So if you choose to go interstate, that's not a problem at all. Okay, there's our 24. Now, this is the important one. This is the book that in July you will be sent, okay? If you are currently a student with us, you'll roll over to a 2-year policy for free. If you're not a student member with us, you can sign up today or until the 30th of June for free, and you will still get the 2-year policy in the book. After that, there is a charge. So I will hang around tonight to make sure that you can check off your addresses and sign up if you're not on that list. This is what you're looking at: $20 million covered for civil liabilities, and also $1 million in for your investigations and inquiries, okay? That is a standard policy, okay? Any in-depth discussions, I'm happy to have them with you later on, okay? Again, it's free. Do it now, because down the track you will either forget or I will come and say, actually, it's going to cost you $20, and that's probably not what you want. So it's a 24-month policy from the 1st of July this year until the 30th of June 2017, okay? So get us for free, save yourself the trouble. This is something that is happening now. This is going in the draw to win a $5,000 travel voucher. Okay, you need to go to the website ican'tlivewithout.com.au and enter there. Okay, so that's just a little perk that I wanted to make sure everyone knew about. That's all I've got for you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them afterwards. And yeah, please come and check your details. Thank you.
Before we announce our next speaker, I'd just like to call upon Dr. Williams again. Thank you for today. And Tash, would you like to present the wine? Thank you very much. Now, our next speaker for tonight is a doctor who actually graduated last year from Bond, a 2014 graduate. I'd like to warmly welcome Dr. James.
Hi guys, so I didn't really get prepared too much just because it was like a last minute thing. Apologies in advance. Last year it was all round gun, Rob Harvey doing this talk, and this year you got me. Sorry if I mumble incoherently. I'm on ortho and it's almost my bedtime, unfortunately. So I think I'm here to talk about Queensland. Is that right? Yeah, so Queensland is the easiest to kind of sign up for out of pretty much every state. The things you just have to be aware of before you sign up are what's going to be required. So they include 2 referees. Your referees who you nominate aren't contacted at all unless there's problems with AHPRA. or in the kind of final stages of the selection process. But your referees are something to think about. Yeah. What else was there? And with the referees, if anyone's thinking about applying to Victoria, best to get that application process going like as soon as possible. With the referees, they the PMVC, I think it's called, actually send the referees a form. They fill out information about you, the referees, and send it back. So Victoria is the big state you want to get your referees sorted with early. Other things are like hepatitis C, I think, police check, also your year 12 kind of proof that you did it in Australia. Also kind of get that checked with the JP. Yeah, if you have it. The certificate, HSC certificate? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. HSC or VCE if you did it, I don't know what you call it in New South Wales or anywhere else. Yeah, also get everything signed off by a JP. So I had a look at the dates for you, but unfortunately they're not up. You have about a 2 to 3 month period to sign up to Queensland. You have to nominate 16, well, there's 16 hospitals, public hospitals in Queensland that you have the option of kind of selecting. People play games with this, and like my advice would be not to play games. You put your like most wanted hospital first, basically. Some people in my year put their most wanted hospital if they got shafted, kind of second. So that's the like their most wanted undersubscribed hospital. I just like put the hospital I wanted first, and number 2 was number 2. So try not to play games, because the last thing you want to do is shoot yourself in the foot and end up somewhere where you don't want to go. Other than that, I'm not like when I was a student, I was like worried about getting a job because you hear all these rumors and everything. Last year, like everyone got a job. We don't have any international students here anymore. About 100 of them missed out, but all the Australian graduates got a job, so don't worry about that. What else was there to say? On this then? Yeah.
Who starts with the references? Do they have to be consultants, or does it not matter?
They don't need to be.
They don't need to be, no.
Registrars are like family friends who just
Yeah.
happen to be doctors.
Okay.
Because they don't get checked unless you stuff it up.
So like I said, like the references don't get checked unless something kind of goes wrong with your APRA form. They do get checked in Melbourne.
Melbourne, you need real.
Melbourne.
And New South Wales.
Yeah, and New South Wales. Yeah.
New South Wales should be.
And Perth as well.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Oh, you don't need any Tassie either, I don't think, off the top of my head, or Northern Territory. I like applied nearly everywhere because it was like leading into our barriers, and what a good way to procrastinate. Yeah.
I know you said not to be games, but say someone's doing a student, where do you find information about all this like subscribed and that kind of stuff?
So what happens is once you kind of fill it in and nominate it, like submit it, you're able to change it until like the closure date. But once you've submitted it, you're able to see how many people have applied and how many positions there are. So you can work out if it's undersubscribed or not. However, things change at the last day. 2 years for, yeah. So, was it the Royal Brisbane or PA? Apparently heaps of people from JCU like didn't want to go to like the PA, but they all applied, like had it number 1 to dissuade people from putting it, and then at like kind of the last minute they changed the hospital they wanted. Yeah, so all their mates got jobs, kind of thing. Yeah. Not that I'm like, yeah.
Is there any way to see like historically?
Yeah, you can. It's on the website.
Yeah.
If you go now, you can see last year's.
Yeah, so there's a list
And it's
of how
always the
many.
same.
Yeah, there's a list of how many jobs there are at each hospital. Off the top of my head, Royal Brisbane has 95, PA is 95, Gold Coast has 90, Bundaberg has 16. Yeah.
Does it cost to apply to each state, or is it free?
So Queensland's free. New South Wales, if you went to high school in New South Wales, I'm pretty sure it's free. If you're like a P3, I think it is, it's about $400.
It was free in my year.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
free.
It might still be free.
No, I
Still free.
paid $400
Oh,
last
you
year.
paid? Yeah, it was free for us.
Unless
It was free for us.
Unless I really got screwed.
I think you did.
Melbourne, you've got to pay for Melbourne, I think.
Yeah, I think you paid
It's
for
like
Melbourne.
100 and something.
Yeah, Tassie's free, South Australia's free. I'm not sure about Western Australia. Yeah.
This is probably for Andre since you're from New Zealand, but does it differ for us?
If you want to go back, it is possible, and I know people who have gone back. We actually, in New Zealand, the way it works is your final year of med school is actually your internship. So when you start working in New Zealand, you're actually a JHO, so you're called a house officer. So for us, when we go there, apparently your first few months is like a huge shock because they assume you know everything. So you kind of have to remind them that you're from Australia and that you're actually an intern who doesn't know anything. In terms of applying, it's you contact the hospital directly, and it's CV. So yeah, CV and references is the main thing. And if you went to school in New Zealand, your chances are high. So far, everyone I know who applied to go back got a job back, and at places like Middlemore and Auckland. So.
What about like here? If you want to apply for here, is there any differences?
Oh no, not at all. I thought you meant going up. No, for us, I got a job in every state in Australia because I kind of freaked out like James and just applied. And the only place I didn't apply to was at South Australia and Perth, but in Victoria and Sydney, and yeah, we just got jobs. It was really not that hard.
Was it in Melbourne? Was it rural jobs? Or?
Yes, so that's the thing with Melbourne. It's pretty much impossible to get a city job in Melbourne because the way Melbourne does its allocations is very different. And when you want to apply for Melbourne, you'll soon realize how crazy the application process actually is. Like, so for us, we just apply to the bulk thing, just put your preferences is done. The same thing happens in New South Wales. In Australia, in Melbourne, sorry, you've got to apply to every single network individually. So say if you want to go to Monash, you got to apply to Monash, which means you have to do a cover letter. You got to send them your CV that kind of shows why you want to work for Monash, and you need 2 references. Now you have to do that for every single network. So everyone who went to Melbourne in my year, and I think last year as well, went a bit peripheral because that's just how it is. And their CVs is not just I've done this, this, and this. It's I've done this. Here is the paper to prove it. So it's called an evidence-based CV. So say if you've published a paper, they want to see a citation of it. If you presented, you need some sort of proof that you presented. And they weigh it. It's almost like a college application. So it's like you get X points for research, you get X points for this. And the better your CV, the more central you get. But it doesn't mean you would get a job, you still get one.
Victoria is like the state where, like, if you want to go there, like, get on it as soon as.
Yeah, like start now because
Yeah.
people have to do letters. Your consultants have to write letters. It's annoying.
Whereas nearly every other state, you know, you can do it at like
Last minute.
Last minute. Not that I'd recommend that at all. Yeah.
You can wait till I speak if you
Yeah.
want. If you can, I was joking. You can whatever. My what? For hair? Yes, I did. So I had to get my dad to like email them and all that stuff. So he actually was kind enough and got a JP back home. So I just PDF'd. Everything is a PDF. They want PDFs. Please. No, I didn't. But the people from my year who got WA actually got royal birth. Because there's only like 3 hospitals, I think. But
I believe in Perth, if you, like, in your application, you have to, like, write a letter about why you want to go to Perth, work in Perth. Yeah. I think 2 people applied from our year last year, and 3, sorry, and all 3 got jobs in Perth. 2 did, 1 did it in Victoria. Yep.
Sort of a stupid question. Do we have to apply to APRA ourselves, or does the board do that?
So that's like at the end of fifth year, you have to do it yourselves, and then once you graduate, the morning after, Bond sends like the confirmation of this to the Brisbane office. APRA is one of those things as well, like try and get it done
The day they say
the
apply.
day you say you can
It
do
takes
it.
months.
Because yeah, all the like red tape and stuff is mind-boggling.
Same as like towards the end of the year, you'll get paperwork from your hospitals for like your Medicare number and prescriber numbers. If you don't do them in like that first week, people end up starting internships without prescriber numbers, which means they can't write a script, which makes your job as an intern useless because that's like one of the things you do.
One of the few.
One of the only. No, just joking. So like stuff like that, which no one really tells you about, you just take for granted, and you get a letter from the hospital saying, if this and this isn't there, you can't start work, and you're like, shit, what do I do? And this happened this year apparently. Medicare had a big screw up, so a bunch of interns in like their first week didn't have anything. They didn't even have a provider number, which means they legally shouldn't be working, but the hospitals were like, whatever. And then so like I had to do scripts for my intern, so I just signed some for her and said, just write what you want.
It's not like the best look in your first week when you have to get like your registrar or consultant to write the discharge scripts either.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
So do them straight away, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Be organised.
Yeah. And yeah, so like they said, like 80, sorry, probably not 80, 70 to 75% of being an intern is just being organised. And the 25, 30% is clinical stuff. It's all like organisational, time uplifts and yeah, doing the jobs. Yeah.
Do any factors other than your preferences come into play?
In Queensland?
Yeah.
No, it's all luck. You can submit your CV.
Like state of origin and all that doesn't matter.
No.
Like if you go to the Maroons. No, so if you studied like in Queensland, yeah, you P1 pretty much. Yep.
So with the references,
Yeah.
is there any advice to, I don't know how you can approach the consultant or registrar that you want to
Just ask.
Yeah, just I emailed one and texted the other.
I saw one of mine in the hallway and said, hey, Dr. Liang, can you be my reference? He's like, when was I your consultant? I was like, she was like my first or second boss, and I was like, you're joking, right? She's like, yeah, I am. And then she's like, just email me later, and I forgot to email her until like the day I was submitting. I was like, hey, Dr. Liang, I don't know if I've asked you, but can you be my reference? And then she messaged me back the next day and said yes. So Dr. Fink did the same. He actually emailed me back like a month after they closed, but I used his name anyway. So I assumed he would say
Same thing happened to me, Dr. Fink. Yeah.
Because
like just name the number?
so they want name, number, position, hospital. It's like you can Google them and that's the information you get. It's not hard.
Is it like what's the difference between Queensland and New South Wales in the application process?
Pretty similar. Some of the things, like it's just like the required documents that I can't tell you that off the top of my head. That's just about going on and looking. I know there's someone from New South Wales like speaking later, I think. Like one of the things you have to think about if you want to get back to New South Wales, it's a bit like Victoria. You're a much better chance if you go like put rural first. So I think it's Bankstown. I think there's like 10 or 15 people from what.
It's not rural, but
Well,
you're more likely to get it than at the RPA, for example.
Yes.
What about Liverpool?
Liverpool people got. If you put Liverpool first, you'll have a good chance. Westmead half, St George half. But like Blacktown, Nepean, where else? Hornsby, people got jobs.
So for us last year, one person got Liverpool. He was at P2 and like he was just lucky. He was picked out of the hat. A couple of months after it was done. Whereas like 15 or 20 people got into Blacktown.
If you put Tweed, you can actually go to Liverpool as well. So Jazz, if you guys remember from my year, put Tweed, but actually did 3 terms at Liverpool.
Yeah, he wasn't at Tweed.
He was never a tweet. And that's because it's part of the same network. So within the network, you can move around. So yeah, so Tweed and Liverpool. So he did 3 rotations at Liverpool.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be that easy from now.
Yeah, things have changed. I think it was Jazz's fault.
Yeah.
We'll screw it up for you
You
guys
can put
again,
that one on
so
the
I apologize for it.
I suppose P3 is there much. Where's the best place to sit?
So I was like P100 in Sydney. I don't know. I'm from New Zealand. I got Napier and I put that second. And I put Westmead first. So
It all depends on where you want to go. There's really the application process. A lot of people get all tied up about which hospital you want to go to, and you want to go to Sydney, you want to go to Melbourne, etc. One of the girls started in New South Wales in Tweed, and she was a Queensland graduate. She did 3 weeks of the first rotation. She got a job at Gold Coast Hospital, and she broke a 2-year contract and she went. The friends of ours that ended up in Cairns, towards the end of the year they got jobs at Gold Coast. So don't get too tied up about it. If you want to go to a hospital, apply to the hospital. Put it as your first preference. Don't play around with the allocation.
you can't cheat the system. It's
There's no trick to it. This is not a statistical thing. Work out the stats so I'm going to get this hospital now. You're wasting your time. But your preference. That's what you're going to get.
What are the actual consequences of breaking the contract?
nothing. You can argue it looks bad, but no one cares.
It's just like
The principle
nowadays,
is that
I
if you
don't
don't
know
want to be
what-
there, go.
But yeah, at the same time, like wherever you like end up, like odds are like some of you aren't going to end up where you want to. It's 1 year, like medicine is one of those professions where like all the time you have to move or you do move for different reasons. It's 1 year. You might end up somewhere where wasn't your first preference, but you're always going to be a positive, whether you have more like exposure to different things, like you push more, you see more things, like where you end up isn't going to hold you back in what you do later on. And there's always positives to come out of something. Like it's 1 year.
If you do want to try and move after a year, how difficult is it to change hospitals?
Can I just answer that one for you? There's a Griffith student who got Cairns, was really upset, he was in tears. He went to Cairns and he worked there for a whole year, he made all these applications to come back. And when he got a job in 2 hospitals in Brisbane. He thought Cairns was the best place, and he went back to do his second. So, it's whatever you want to do in your second year, a lot of people moved around in the second year. They moved hospitals. In Queensland, it's easy to move.
This is like more observation, but I think in your JHO year, like it's a lot easier to move where you want to, like including Victoria. Everything's kind of somewhat more of a level playing field then. There's not really so much P1, P2 to P3, and
It's
there's
very
a lot of
mixed.
movement.
It's more merit based after your first year. It doesn't matter anymore.
So well you get signed off in your first year.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between the preschool and
No, I don't think so. No.
what are the biggest mistakes people made in the application process?
It's really hard to stuff up.
Yeah.
Just
It's
press
easy proof.
accept. Honestly, I know people who get it because it can be deceiving, and especially when you get your offers, you actually have to. You look at it and you have to press accept and make sure you've accepted. Because the last thing you want is to miss it.
So if you get your first preference, you either have accept or decline. If you don't get your first preference, there's accept, tentatively accept, and decline. Tentatively accept basically means that job is yours, but you're still in the ballot for like one of your first preferences if you get your 14th preference. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of like when you're putting in your documents and things.
Yeah.
Anything that is likely, like you miss just because
No, there's
You can't
just like
complete
stages.
it
They'll
or
send you
something,
and I'm pretty sure like they send you an email if it's not finished like a week before the closure date.
So can I just add to that? You are applying for a job, so you got to take your time and do the application properly, and you got to go through the application process. Missing things and putting an incorrect CV or putting an incorrect document is detrimental to you getting a job. They are looking at it. It's not a process where you put your name in this ballot and they're just going to give you a job just because. There are certain criteria. After all, Dr. Williams said, you are going to be a doctor.
And there's so much paperwork next year for you guys if you can't do this. Yeah. Any other questions or anything about being an intern or interstate stuff? Yep.
Just with the Gold Coast Health District, I think I saw one of the terms as a GP, as an intern.
Yeah, so I think that's more JHO.
Okay.
Yeah, so internship, there's like 3 compulsory terms, ED, medicine and surgery, including orthopedics. Then you have 5 weeks holiday, and then what's left, 17 weeks, which is your elective. So that's like anesthetics, rural, obs and gynae, peds, what else is that?
Subspecialties.
Yeah, rehab, med rehab, palliative care.
Just, can I just add to that? I had a problem with APRA this year because I had a relief term and I took leave during my relief medicine term, and so I didn't complete 10 weeks during that process. So your registration can be held back if you have not completed. So you got to be careful when you take it. If it's in your medicine block or your surgery block or your emergency block, you got to be very careful in that time. Okay. My advice is don't take leave during that time. It's a long, laborious process to get it fixed.
Yeah, so when I said there's compulsory terms, as an intern, you don't have your full registration. To get your full registration, you have to do those 30 weeks. And other requirements like attending 80% of the education sessions and, yeah.
Really?
Well, signing on for 80%. Yep.
With regard to leave, I think Gold Coast does their 5 weeks before.
Yep.
Is there any way of trying to ensure, do you know what your rotations are?
Yes. Yeah. So, once you got your job, a few months before you start, so there were 88 jobs offered at Gold Coast. Oh, the 90. Sorry. So they sent us an Excel sheet with like 90 different pathways for the year, which is the most confusing thing you've ever seen. And then, yeah, so then it's in like the 5-week blocks kind of thing for the year. And then you preference 1 to 20 which stream you want for the year. And then you can also like put in a document like, I want to like get this block of holidays because my sister's getting married or whatever. Yeah. That's the other thing about being an intern. The rosters and things are mind-boggling. They should almost like have a session in med school. It's worse. Orthopedics is worse. It changes every second day.
Sorry, if we could ask questions for Dr. Andre and also Dr. Jason as well. So,
yeah. What?
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. Thank you very much to Dr. James as well. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Andre to the podium.
I actually made slides before in this theatre before you guys all came in. So. Yeah, look at that. So, for you guys who don't know me, I'm Andre. I finished the year before last, so I'm now a JHO, but honestly, it's the same thing. So when you start your internship, after about, say, the first 2 months, it doesn't matter that you're the intern anymore. Your responsibilities as an intern is almost the same as a resident. The only difference is some of the terms that are open to you. For example, like at Gold Coast, you can't do ICU as an intern. At PA, you can't do ICU until you're an SHO. For example, that's kind of the only thing that really pertains to you. The only difference otherwise is you do the same stuff. You've got the same responsibilities. If you make a mistake, you'll probably get yelled at more as a resident. But by the end of the year of an intern, everyone kind of forgets that you're the intern, so don't worry about it. So I'm at the PA. That's what a PA looks like. I found that on Wiki. So PA is one of like the big tertiary hospitals. So Gold Coast, Royal, and PA are the three most oversubscribed hospitals in Queensland, and that's because they're the big tertiary referral centres. So if anything elsewhere happens, they come to one of the three hospitals. Now, traditionally, people say that if you want to be a physician, you go to Royal. If you want to be a surgeon, you go to PA. I don't think that's really true. It really doesn't matter where you go for your internship. In fact, people argue that if you go to like a smaller hospital, say if you go to Mackay or even Townsville is really underrated. It's actually a tertiary hospital that has really cool subspecialties. They've got a really cool new ED department and stuff as well. It really doesn't matter because your experiences, I found as an intern anyway, is all to do with experience comes with being keen. So what you get out of internship is all to do with what you put in. So if you want to do surgery, for example, and you want to learn how to close skin, you want to learn how to stitch up fascia, and have a play with the laparoscopes, they will let you. There are interns at the PA who have done appendixes. A couple of us got to do lists, so I used to have a list once a week when I did urology. It was super cool. All I did was do scopes all day. It was awesome, and I didn't need to do anything else. But they let you do a lot of procedure work, and it doesn't matter if you're a really, really huge hospital, if you're a really, really small hospital. If you are keen and you want to do something, they will teach you how to do it. It's really as simple as that. Sometimes, yes, your ward jobs and your ward responsibilities is your responsibility. So if the ward's not sorted and you don't know what's going on with your patients. Actually, to that list, one thing I would add is know your patients. Especially on a surgical term, the registrar's been in theatre all day. Suddenly they come to the ward for an evening ward round, and you will have to take them on a ward round and literally know what happened to all 30 of your patients that day. Who's come and seen them, what's happened to them, what their bloods are doing, what their scans have shown. So if you get pulled to theatre, for example, which also happens, you will not know those things, but you need to find out somehow. Anyway, we'll get to that. So these are the terms I did. So I started off on PALCare, which was my 5-week literal elective thing, and then I went on leave, so I didn't really do much. But on PALCare, I did lots and lots of after-hours shift because I was super paranoid that all my friends were learning how to be doctors, and I was learning how to make people comfortable as they were dying. So the one thing I learned how to do on PALCare was prescribe opioids in really large quantities. And start people on NICU pumps. So I did lots of ward call, which was A, really, really good money. B, was shit scary, because the very first thing I did on ward call was go to a cardiac arrest. The patient had 6 sinus syndrome and ended up getting a pacemaker that night. He survived. I saw him on the ward like a week later. He was walking around. And that's honestly where you learn your medicine as an intern, is your after-hours shift. And so I've got a list of things to do for that. ED, everyone does, is awesome. ED is honestly one of the best terms you'll do as an intern. And I'm not just saying that because we've got an ED position. It is actually heaps of fun. You get to stitch stuff, you get to put things together, like plasters, bone-wise. Do lines. They let you, if you want to learn how to do an art line, they will teach you how to do an art line. It's as simple as that. Peri-op med was my gen med term, which was really good for me because I want to do surgery, if you can't tell. So peri-op is like a new concept that PA and Royal and a few, I think Gold Coast has it now as well. I'm not sure, I could be wrong. But you literally go to your surgical wards and deal with stuff that surgeons don't want to deal with. It's pretty good actually, and you don't have to do some of the more boring gen med stuff, which I wouldn't say. And urology and HPB was awesome. HPB, I was averaging about 13 to 14 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. HPB is notorious as being one of the death terms. You will hear that word for a few things at some hospitals. I actually asked for that term, and I don't regret it. In fact, I recommend it to everyone. Hello.
Sorry, what is that?
Hepatopancreatic biliary. So liver resections, Whipples. So imagine your average day, you're doing a ward round and the code buzzer goes off, you go and deal with it, another one goes off. So people try and die on the ward every day, and some people on that ward should really be in ICU but aren't, because the bosses are more confident, but then don't realize that you're the one that has to deal with the shit. And they're really, really hard patients that don't make sense. Like my first day I walked into this patient, he had 6 drains. I was like, where are these drains and why is it green? He was leaking bile everywhere. Urology was awesome as well. And I actually did urology at QE2 Hospital. So we have almost got a network system. So when you're at Gold Coast, you go to Robina, for example. So PA, you go to Logan, you go to QE2 Redlands. So I actually asked for that because it was the only way I could guarantee to do that. I want to do urology. So it guaranteed that job, and I got heaps of exposure at that spot. Anyway, what to do this year? So honestly, pass and try and remember what you learned. I took this for granted when I was in fifth year. I was kind of like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. It can't be that hard. It's not. You need to know your shit. The consultants and registrars don't really ask you questions. You kind of get lost in this thing where they will drill the medical student and then they will drill the registrar. You just get lost in between. So you think that you don't need to know anything. But when you're in after hours, you get asked to see a patient whose GCS is like 8. And you're like, what's GCS 8 mean? You don't know? So you really need to study. And a lot of us, I think, took that for granted until you get there. And Kathy showed you that on-call book. That book is awesome. And I think I used it a lot in my first month. After that, I lost it. One of the most useful things in that, now don't laugh at this, is you get called on after hours to pronounce people dead. Now, no one teaches you how to do that. And I didn't know. That book actually has a paragraph. So I took a photo of it and I've still got it on my phone. And it tells you what you have to do. And then there's like a special thing you've got to write in the chart. So no one tells you that, but it's one of the jobs that you have to do as an intern. And you will soon realize that there's many things we didn't know existed that are suddenly your responsibility. That is the biggest tip I'll give you guys this year. Shadow an intern. Like, call your friends who are interns. I'm sure you guys still have it. We had like rostered shadow sessions with an intern. A bunch of us didn't actually go to it, but the 2 I went to were really good. You should really do that. And it's because when we do our rotations, we're kind of more interested in, like, especially when you go private, you're kind of just sitting in the room seeing patients. You don't really appreciate what the residents do. And like I don't know if it's the same for you guys. So when I did my Gen Med term, I really had no idea what the intern was doing. I would just do the ward round, write the notes, and then be taken away by Dr. Fink to have teaching something, you know? And on surgery, there's like rosters. You have to go to theater, but you don't learn anything in theater. You learn, like, as a med student, it honestly doesn't matter if you can hold up the liver when they're doing a lap chole. That's not going to teach you surgery. That's not going to teach you how to manage a sick surgical patient on the ward, which is what you need to do as an intern, because the registrars will not pick up their phone when they're scrubbed, because they're scrubbed. So if someone's hypotensive day 1 post-op, they're probably bleeding, and that is now your problem. So you will learn to deal with that. And the thing is, especially if you start, so I did HPV last, and one of the joys I had was handing over to 2 fresh interns who'd never worked on HPV. And I literally told them, this will be the shittest rotation that you ever do, but after this, you will laugh at every other term. And we kind of made them a guide, and they still called me. Actually, one of them called me today and asked me how to deal with something, and I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. You're not making sense. You're stressed. Relax. And the basic skills. I've got a list of stuff which I hope you guys will all try and be able to do by the end of this year, and I really wish when I was in 5th year, someone had given me this list. Anyway, the RMO campaign, we've spoken about heaps. That's what it looks like. And you press this button. That's it. And it honestly just goes through everything. And the other states have a very similar kind of screen. And honestly, all the information you ever need is actually on this website. They've made it really foolproof. So when you click the next page, it will tell you need this, this, and this. So you upload and you go next. And it tells you now you have to do this. Next. This is what we were talking about. Honestly, you can't cheat the system. You can try as much as you want to play around. A couple of years ago, everyone, like 10 minutes before the things closed, saw Redcliffe has no people. They all moved to Redcliffe, they became oversubscribed, and people ended up somewhere else. Don't try and cheat the system. You can change your preferences until the very last minute, which we actually did. It's funny. Put number 1 where you want to go. So I wanted to go to the PA. I had my reasons and my own opinions as to why I wanted to go to the PA. And I put it first, and I was lucky I got PA. Now, if you don't get PA, you have to be rolled back. You can still get back to any hospital. You should ask Farhan about how rollbacks went. He was actually at the rollbacks meeting for my year. So they kind of pick people's names out and say, so you don't go 1, 2, You don't go, I didn't get number 1, I'm going to get number 2. You get, I didn't get number 1, I'm going to get whatever the next hospital down my list that has spots is, which is usually number 15, 16, 17, because without even meaning to, you will put Bundaberg, Rocky, and Cairns, unless you want to go there. And remember, Townsville is good. And interstate, it is possible. There's videos apparently from like Rajan and stuff, who you will see shortly. So I'm from New Zealand, and I kind of just applied to Sydney because all my friends were. Yeah, and I got an opinion, and I said no, obviously, because I got PA. But people were getting Sydney offers almost right till November, December. So they keep going. Now, getting back, you can beg, borrow, and plead and actually get back to places. So Seb got Mackay initially, and he annoyed the shit out of Gold Coast Hospital, called them every day. I think almost took chocolates to them, but one of my friends actually took chocolates to the allocations lady, and he got back to Gold Coast. And then he went on this new vendetta because he wanted to live in Brisbane. So spoke to every single internet Logan and found someone to swap with. So he's now a Logan. He loves it. And a whole lot of other people, they didn't want to go somewhere, they can come back. Now it's luck. I know people who got rolled back to the Royal. So it does happen. Like their rollback was Royal Brisbane Hospital. And it's because people, you always forget, people get interstate offers that want to go home. I know a whole bunch of people last year, they all got Royal, they went to Sydney. Zahin, for example, when he was in my year, I don't know, you guys probably remember him. He got Royal, but he wanted to go to a smaller hospital. In his words, he wanted to chill out for a while. So he went to Sydney, and he wanted to move. He wanted the experience of moving to a new city. That in its own self is something that could be a reason to move, not because you live in Sydney. His family's from Melbourne. He didn't even apply in Melbourne. He just wanted to go to a different city. So don't be super sad when you get something that you don't want. Say, for example, you do get Mackay. Mackay's actually really good. In terms of general work, there's a lot of general stuff to do. So I've made a slide, big versus small. Big pertains to the tertiary hospitals, Royal, Gold Coast. I'm going to put Townsville in there as well. And small is every other hospital. And I'm only referring to Queensland because I can speak about the Queensland hospitals. You can argue that you get lots of exposure. You get really cool pathology. I mean, you seriously see some really cool shit. Stuff that you will read in a textbook that 1 in X number of people will have. You will probably see a patient like that when you're at a place like PA. And research. So people who especially want to do surgery, because now there's this huge over-exaggeration on research. There is heaps of research at the big hospitals. The smaller, so this is from opinion, so I don't know this is fact, so listen carefully what I have to say. Friends at smaller hospitals have said that they have struggled to get research projects because not all the bosses were keen, but some of them do research at the smaller hospitals. Whereas at the Royal and the PA, you can literally flick a coin and throw it at someone and they'll probably have some project going. It's really easy to get involved in research. You just email someone and say, do you have a project? I would like to do something. And subspecialized care. So at PA, for example, we don't have general surgery. We have colorectal, HPV, upper GI. It's very super specialized. So if a patient has a liver pathology, they will come under HPV. Simple as that. And if someone in like Mackay or Townsville gets stuck and has a liver lesion, they will come to the PA. So that's the difference. So you can think of it as the end game. So if a place like Toowoomba can't manage a patient, they will send them in. But they've seen that initial management, and that's also important to learn. You need to see what these sick patients look like when they come in through ED, not what they look like when they've been stabilized coming to a big hospital. So that's kind of like the pros and cons. So you get lots of exposure at small hospitals, because that patient who is now bleeding on the table at PA started off at Rocky. So they were initially came in through the Rocky Hospital bleeding, and someone took the time and effort to stabilize this person, because you can't put them in a plane and send them down. They will die. So you need to make sure they're well. So you get that. And the other thing is, because there's only like 10 interns, all the consultants will know you. Now at PA, that could be an issue because there's 95 of you, and you kind of only know the people you work for. So if you want to do a certain specialty and you know what you want to do, you can ask for those terms so you meet the right people. And that goes back to references. Getting references happen in two ways. A, you impress someone, they ask you. B, you just ask them. And if someone really doesn't want to be a reference, they will tell you. They'll be like, oh, I think you should go get someone else. It does happen. And it actually happened to a few people when they were asking for references in med school. So it's just honest, because you want people who will back you. You don't want someone to say, oh, I'll be your reference, and then when you apply for the college, they don't give you all the 5s. You get 4s, and then you don't get on. And some of them will actually be like, I will give you perfect references. So that's why references can be a bit tricky. Hands-on. In a smaller hospital, you will do a lot more procedural work because there's not that many of you. There's not many people fighting for the same things. But like I said, at a big hospital, you can do heaps. And it's more general at a smaller hospital. So when you're Gen Surg, you will do everything from vascular to urology, whereas at PA, there's vascular, there is urology, there is Gen Surg. So that's the difference. And I know like the guys I know at Mackay, for example. So the Set 1 Gen Surg trainees at Mackay are actually urology radios who go there because they need urology part of the training. But they do appendixes and ballbacks, for example. So do you get lost in a crowd in the PA? I think yes and no. If you want to meet certain people, you will meet them, you will get to know them. I think that you can get heaps of hands-on stuff at the PA. I went to town with that. I get bored if I'm not doing anything for a long period of time. So I struggled in my medical term because there was nulls where we didn't actually do anything. So I would literally do something else. Is there research at small hospitals? Yes. Is there pathology? Everyone has to start somewhere. You will see the liver resection at PA, but you will see the bleeding adenoma in Townsville. That's really it. And this is the big thing that everyone will hear when, are you a secretary when you're an intern? To some effect, you are. As James was saying, there is a bucket load of paperwork. There are forms within forms that don't make sense. I had to fill in a 30-page document for some guy's insurance company. And I was like, I don't even want to do this. Can I just sign my name and you fill it in? But no, it has to be you. You don't have time for that. There's like people dying and stuff. So I actually took it home and did it because it was my responsibility and you will get yelled at. And yes, you do get yelled at. So don't worry. So this is the list I wish someone had shown me, because this is what every intern on day 1 is meant to already know, which is bad because I knew people who put in maybe 2 cannulas all of med school. Cannulas. ABGs. The first ABG I ever did on a real person was on my first after-hour shift in a code. And I missed the first one. I got the second one though. So you know when you practice on dummies, that's all well and true. But when you're out in practicing this year, ask the team if you can do that blood gas. Especially when you're in ED. You will get to do stuff like go to the resusces. Just kind of put your hand up. Especially if there's a stable patient who's now been stabilized and you're doing serial gases on. Some of the respiratory ones. Just put your hand up and be like, hey, can you teach me how to do this gas? And honestly, it's like one of the things that apparently is the intern's responsibility when they turn up to a code, to put in a cannula, take basic bloods, and pull off a gas. That's what you have to do at a code as an intern, unless you're the first one there, which is a whole different story. Yeah. IDCs. You will actually need to put catheters into people instead of those weird rubber things that are downstairs. And some people are really hard to put a catheter in. So one of the things I did this year was I learned how to use a guide wire, which is the little thing you put in so you can guide a catheter in. Learn how to do that. I don't know why people take this IDC, the nurses will do it. They don't. They will struggle. And when you do a surgical term, and it is the junior's responsibility to put in that catheter in theatre. So if you're doing a big orthopedic case, or James is gone, didn't see it. You will be the one, if they've asked you to come help in theatre, it's your responsibility to put in that catheter and prep the theatre. And especially when you get more senior in the year and the bosses start trusting you, they will ask you to help in theatre where you will be the primary assistant. There is no one else there before the consultant comes but you. So you need to be able to put in that catheter, do the final check, and maybe start scrubbing and put the drapes on if you've seen it a few times. But if you do it wrong, you will get yelled at. I did 2 weeks ago. ECGs. You will read a lot of ECGs. I was shit in ECGs in med school, and I'm probably still not great now, but I can tell someone having an MI. I think that's the main thing. And the other thing is left bundle branch blocks. They still don't make sense to me, but I think I can see them now. And heart blocks and things like that. Know your ECGs. You will do so many of them. And actually learn how to put the dots on yourself. I don't know how many times I've had to do it, because I don't know why. It just happens. Simple imaging. Know how to read an x-ray of the chest, abdomen. If you know how to read a CT, great. In fact, CT is a great way to learn your anatomy. I teach, when I have med students, I teach as well now. I teach them anatomy using imaging. You should look at as many CTs and things as you want. Doesn't matter what you want to do. If you can read basic image, you're ahead of the curve. And know how to order imaging. You will see the forms. Follow the interns this year. Know what to ask for when you get someone. If you have someone's got a bowel obstruction, don't just write abdo X-ray. You want the full series. You want the chest. You want the erect and the supine. You need to know, when you do ortho, you always get 2 views. Stuff like that, PA lateral. You need to be able to ask for those things. CTs, when do you ask for contrast, when do you don't? What's a triple phase? MRIs and things like that. You need to be able to just basically read them. You guys, I think, get a whole bunch of lectures by Roger Bain in final year. Or maybe last year, I'm not really sure. I can't remember. They were really good. And there's a bunch of courses you can do when you're an intern. You will do a whole bunch of courses to try and buff your CV. There's a whole bunch of imaging. Really good skill to have. Fluids and electrolytes. You don't really have a feel for this until you start doing it yourself. Especially, electrolyte replacement is really easy, but like maintenance fluids, especially on surgical wards, this is a big thing. On medical terms, it's important, especially in renal, because the electrolyte imbalances are huge. Basic things is potassium. You just need to know how to fix high and low potassium back of your hand. Heparin infusions. I had never seen one until I became an intern. And I had to write one up, but I didn't know how. It's on the form, but learn how to do it this year. It's just a real basic thing. No one told me I needed to know this as an intern. I actually didn't even know what a heparin infusion was. Sugars. Sugars are annoying, but it's the intern's job to make sure they're managed. If you've got questions, you can ask. And this is the most important thing. I'm actually going to an ALS refresher course tomorrow. If you're the first one at a code, which does happen, especially if you're the one who's calling the code, that's what you do. A, B, C, D. Everything in medicine can be fixed by A, B, C, D. If you have done that, you have done your job as a doctor. It doesn't matter what level you are, I reckon. If you've made sure that their airway is paid and they're breathing and they haven't died, done. And then by that time, people who actually know what's going on will turn up. And this is what wasn't really drawn into it. You need to be able to manage stuff. I mean, you can't ask your registrar for everything. If someone is having chest pain, you need to be able to deal with that. You need to be able to deal with people who've got full-blown APO. And when you see your first APO, I don't know if you guys had, I hadn't seen one till I was after hours. I was like, this person has a really noisy chest. I think this is APO, I'm not sure. But let's give them Lasix and see what happens. It was, and the x-ray was huge. It was awesome. Little simple things. You just need to be able to, and even identifying things is important. If you can identify a deteriorating patient, you've done your job. You can call someone and say, hey, I've got so-and-so. I think they're bleeding. They're hypotensive. They're not responding to fluids. We need help. And often that's all you need to do. That is what you need to be able to do as an intern. And you will get better at that as the year goes on. Making referrals. That's pretty much the bulk of your work. So we would sit down for like an hour during the day and just call the hospital. You'll make friends with the registrars. The quicker and slicker you get at it, the faster things get done. And general rule is by midday, your job should all be done. That's what someone told me before I started internship. And I always try to do that. Sometimes it's really hard when you're super busy. But by midday, your referrals should be made. All your imaging should be requested well and truly beforehand. And so after lunch, you look at the bloods and fix the bloods. And then you follow up all the referrals. That's how you just got to plan your day. Yes, we need to know drug doses. Bond didn't ever teach us that. They were like, oh, you don't need to worry about the dose. Yes, you do. Don't ever listen to them. I don't know why. You need to know your doses. I actually wrote down the common drugs I use and put it on my phone as like a little note. So I just swipe and there they are. It's like opioids, things like Maxilon and ondansetron, stuff like that. Stuff you use every single day. And after a while, you will learn them. You will be surprised how many drugs you will randomly have to prescribe, even simple antibiotics. Because once you learn them on a ward round, you can just chart up that amoxil rather than having to go look it up, coming back and doing it later. Things like that you will just get better at through the day. So you can start this year. I mean, we should have focused on this in final year. I don't know why we didn't. Yes, your short summaries are important. Learn how to do one. I'd actually never done one until I became an intern and I actually didn't know how the whole system worked. So ask someone to show you how that stupid EDS thing works. It's annoying, but you need to know how to do them. And they're important. Now that I get to admit people and stuff like that, not having a discharge summary is super annoying because people don't remember what they had in hospital 2 years ago. They had their spleen out. That's a really big deal. They don't remember things like that. And it's because they choose not to, or they just don't take it for granted, or they didn't get that information. You need those discharge summaries. So if you can do that now, it'll help someone later on and they wouldn't curse you in the past. Never be ashamed to ask for help. I still ask stupid questions, and if I'm not sure, I will ask someone. If you can ask your questions when the registrar is there before they disappear, good. So if they say you need to do this and you don't know how, you need to ask them right then and there. Never be ashamed. They will not drill you. They will not yell at you for asking a question. Practice within your limits. Don't do something you're not comfortable doing. If someone says you need to do a gas, and if you are really against that because you've never done one, you don't feel comfortable, say it. They will not yell at you. There are other people in the hospital. It is not just you. There's a huge, huge establishment. There are hundreds of doctors. Someone can do this job for you. But learn. Take that opportunity to see one. The see one, do one, teach the third thing actually holds. You have to do that. If you make a mistake, own up to it. I think it's really hard to kill someone in internship. They don't give you enough responsibility. So I've yet to kill someone. But I have made mistakes, and you just have to own up for it. Sometimes if it's someone else on your team, just own up to it because it's a team effort. It's not just the other intern and you intern. It's we are the interns. We made a mistake. So I wasn't there one day, but we made a mistake. It's fine. Consultants don't care. They will be like, all right, sure, we made a mistake. How did you fix it? Well, we realized this later and we fixed it. Ask questions. I don't know, some people do teach the interns. I think it's great. Ask questions. And learn. Internship is about absorbing as much knowledge as you can about as many things as you can as quick as possible. The first few months is a really steep learning curve. There is a lot of information to absorb. So the more you can learn this year, the easier next year becomes. I kind of feel like I learned more in my first 6 months of internship than all of med school combined. And some of the stuff you learn in med school, I have to now restudy for exams, which is weird. Work-life balance is important. Some terms you will work more than life. Other terms you will life more than work, and it happens. And that's just the way it is. But even if you're working more, just try and take that break, Go catch up with your friends. Eat lunch during the day. There's always time to eat food. Get involved. If you want to do something different, do something different. Being an intern is like starting the tip of an iceberg. There is so much new stuff that opens up to you when you are suddenly practicing. Like all these things I never knew happened in a hospital that, like I do now. It's just be keen and have fun. That's the most important thing. Like Dr. Williams was saying before, if you do an obs-gynae term, you hate obstetrics with a vengeance. Don't crib about it for 10 weeks. It'll just be the 10 worst weeks of your life. Just be like, all right, cool. I got to do this today. That was fun. 10 weeks later, you have moved on. Who cares? Just if you're negative, you will hate it. The main thing in internship is never let the stress and don't let it get to you. Just try and have fun. See the positive in everything. If you're at a hospital, it's like 11 p.m. at night time. You've been there since 6 in the morning. Don't be like, holy shit, I have to come back in 4 hours. Just be like, why am I here still? Surely something would have happened. You think back and say, how could I have gone home early? Sometimes you can't, and that's just how it is. But, there's the memories and the person you're with, because you're usually not there by yourself when that happens. You have a laugh about it. Any questions, guys? I probably scared you. It's really not that bad. It's actually awesome. It's really fun. Questions?
How do you maximize the amount of time you get actually being able to do hands-on stuff? So that comes more with time. If you can get your ward stuff organized pretty quickly, you can get more hands-on stuff done. And if most teams have more than one resident on it, share the workload. Just be like, today I want to go to theater, tomorrow you go to theater. When you're an ED is a bit different. You can actually, because you take responsibility for a patient, so if someone needs an LP, if that patient needs an LP, you should put your hand up. Be like, oh, can I do this LP? If someone needs an acidic tab, can I do the acidic tab? Just ask. It's all about sharing the workload between each other. And you can get a lot out of your internship, or you can get nothing. You can literally just turn up to work and go home every day, or you can put in that little bit extra and just get a whole lot out of it. And at the end of the year, you'll look back and say, I did this, this, and this, which was really cool. So you always have really cool memories of doing stuff. So, yeah. I'm
I've got two.
That's right.
So, so with regards to going from you and Gold Coast as a med student,
Yeah.
and then going to PA,
Yeah.
as far as things like pathology forms, imaging.
It's exactly the same. It's Queensland Health.
Oh, is it?
It's Queensland Health. Difference here is you guys type your notes on that EMR thing on Gold Coast. PA doesn't have that yet. They've now got a new IEMR program, which is you still write it, but they all get scanned. It's a super annoying thing. I hate it. I hated the computers. I prefer writing because you can't find anything. You want the chart. What did they see in outpatients? Oh, that's in their chart, which is in some cave. No, I need it now. I don't need the stupid computer to tell me something that's not there. I like paper.
And also, again, back to being a New Zealand question, if you do want to go back, when do you know when applications?
It's around the same time as everyone else. All of the states' applications open together, and they close around the same time. Yeah.
New Zealand applications are actually already open.
There you go. Boom. No. Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually a good point. I forgot to tell you guys that. So you know how when you go to your rotation, you have those ITA forms? Do you guys still have that? There's tick boxes and stuff that, so you have to show this and this and this. That same thing exists as an intern. You have to get 2 of them a term at 5 weeks and 10 weeks. And it's like a proper assessment format. You can actually fail a rotation. It has happened to people. You have to repeat internship if you fail, especially one of the big 3. So yeah, you actually can't just cruise along. You need to make an effort. So those assessment forms actually get sent to AHPRA, and they go on your permanent medical record. I'm not sure how much that pertains to future jobs, if they've seen that you've had a shit ITA form. I don't know, but as long as you pass, it doesn't really matter. And they will tell you if you're doing a bad job. Someone will actually say, hey, you need to get your act together. So it's hard to fail. No, James was saying 80%. I think I went to 10 all of last year because I was too busy. But when you're the only one around, it's really hard to go to teaching, and they understand that. But obviously, some of the teaching is really good. ED has the best teaching you could imagine. We had a day off where you got paid to get a lecture. It was awesome. Every week, it was the best. I still have them. They're actually really useful things. They do them at all the hospitals, the ED ones. That's it? Cool. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much to Dr. Andre and also Dr. James as well. Our next speaker for tonight is a doctor from Tweed Hospital in New South Wales. We've got Dr. Jason. Please welcome Dr. Jason.
Hi. Good evening. I won't take up too much of your time. Andre and Dr. Williams has basically said everything I needed to say. Suffice to say that today I got an email. The applications for New South Wales opens on the 18th of May, and they close on the 5th of June. So the process for New South Wales is, I'm 100% sure that it's free, because I never paid for it. Definitely don't know where the $400 came from. But if it's all in clusters, and the cluster that you want to go to, you put that as your first preference. For those people that want to go to Tweed and apply to Tweed, if you're a Bond student or a Queensland student that went to school in Queensland, there's 2 positions, and it's on merit. It's based on your application and your references. So I was on the interview panel last year, and it will be on the panel this year again. It's very simple. The questions are relating to you being a medical student and being an efficient medical student. When you do your ward rounds, it all pertains to being organized. There's simple things like what Andre said, hyperkalemia, you need to know those things. As an intern starting in January. The application process, it's a long, laborious process. I think you guys have exams somewhere in June. Is that right? So there are some of us that apply to Tweed. We're more than happy to give you the questions that were in the application. Start preparing your application now. Being organized, that's part of being organized. You can get the questions from us. We'll give you the questions. Get your CV up to date. There's English requirements. If you didn't go to school in Australia, there's your citizenship. If you're not an Australian citizen, you need all of those documents. You need your work visa or a student visa if you're not an Australian permanent resident. So get organized now rather than waiting for May, June to do it. In terms of putting your preferences, for those people who want to go to Tweed, so there's two streams. The one is if you went to school in New South Wales and you went to university at Bond, I think you become P2 or P3. If you put Tweed as your first preference, on rollback you will get Tweed because we have 16 spots plus 2 Queenslanders are allowed in. So for that 16 spots, most of the Queenslanders that went to New South Wales schools and went to university in Queensland get those spots. In terms of being an intern, a good intern at Tweed, I found it really well. I got Gold Coast. My first choice was Gold Coast, and I got it, and I got Tweed as well. For me, I think Tweed was really good, and I'd recommend it to everybody for a simple reason. It's small. You don't get lost in the system. You can choose the rotations you want to. So I went down a pathway. I did palliative care. You've got to give some to get some. I did pal care and renal together. I did I wanted 2 emergency terms, so I got 2 emergency terms. I did a general surgery term, which I did upper GI. So we've got gen surg, upper GI, and colorectal, and we have breast as well and urology, all separate. So you can get one of those terms. The great thing of what I think is you can streamline yourself in the right direction because it's a 2-year contract, and you can pick and choose your rotations for second year. So this year I chose my rotation, so down the ICU critical care pathway. So I'm doing anesthetics, ICU, emergency, and 2 relief terms. So those people who want to do surgery got to do surgery as well as orthopedics, and they chose the terms. They went, every 5 or 6 weeks you have a meeting with the DPET, you go and see him, you sit down and you tell him what you want to do the next year, and which program you want to get onto, and you get on, and he tailors it towards that direction. It's very important. I think it's a very competitive. Medicine is very competitive now. To get onto a program, it's unbelievable. You should know that. I think what's great about a smaller hospital, and I know lots of my friends are all at PA and Royal and stuff like that. You get good exposure. I think the exposure that you get in the smaller hospitals, depending on which small hospital you get, is whether it's a big hospital or small hospital. It all depends on you. I did a block today, a corneal block on a patient. Just because I was standing right there, I saw 2, I wanted to do the next one, and I said, please, can you show me? I want to do it. And, he was holding my hand, basically, but I was doing it. It's what you want to do. You drive that internship, I think. I spent heaps of time in theater, and I had 45 patients at a time in colorectal. It's being organized, like Andre said, be organized. You should really be finished by 1 o'clock. You should be in theater by 2. Get into theater, do, between 2 and 4 theater. And I agree with Andre. The most experience I got was I took everybody's on-call shift. Yeah. Everybody wanted to get out of their on-call shift. There was a girl in our year who she was crying when the roster came out. And I said, give it to me. I'll take it. And I took it. And because you're not alone. The hospital's full of doctors. If you're stuck with something, you just pick up the phone and talk to a registrar. Or you talk to a consultant. Nobody's going to kill you. I think after finishing my internship and getting into anesthetics this term, my wife will tell you that I'm more stressed now than I was in the internship because the jump is fairly high. You've got to know stuff at a different level. Internship, you babied, you cushioned. In ED, everybody's holding your hands. Every patient you see, you got to go see a consultant or a registrar. And it's a good thing because they're training you and tailoring you in that direction. So don't be scared about it. Again, I'll say don't muck around with the applications. Lots of people try to play games with the applications in our year as well as years prior to that. Don't do it. If you want to go to Sydney, you want to go to Liverpool, don't apply for Tweed. Okay? There's a very good reason I'll tell you. If you want to go to Gold Coast, don't apply to Tweed. I'll tell you what, it put pressure on us. Because 2 interns, we have 16 or 18 interns. Middle of the year, you have an intern who goes, boom, he's gone to Liverpool because he's arranged for this to happen, or is now resigned and gone to Gold Coast. The rest of us are copying it. Because it's a small hospital. Be reasonable about what you want to do. Yes, there's swaps available. So a lot of people in Tweed swap their rotations with Liverpool and people in Sydney. So you can get somebody in Concord or Liverpool who wants to do a rotation at Tweed, and a lot of people want to do that. And you can go across. Jazz did that. He did 3 of his rotations in Sydney, and he got somebody to come and work in his place. Because that doesn't, put pressure on everybody else. Discharge summaries, 5 lines. My first rotation, I was writing a book. Yeah, 5 lines. That's all they want to know. And copy and paste from the admission notes with a plan. If you have a plan, the GP wants to know what's your plan with this patient. I did palliative care, and I needed to give somebody an adequate pain management plan. So I brought that in. Yeah.
So with the discharge summary, there's no legal implications if there's only 5 lines.
It tells you, you're basically telling somebody that this patient came into a hospital on such and such a day, this was wrong with the patient, this is what your management was, and this is the discharge plan. And you copy and paste their results. That's it. And you can do 40 in a day. If you're really quick with it, you do 30, 40 in a day. You can sit down and do it. Don't stress about it. I totally agree. December, when you graduate, the first thing you should do is go on a holiday. Do not buy a man bag. Please. It gets lost. In the first 6 weeks, you go on ward call, everybody's carrying a man bag, everybody's carrying a stethoscope, and a bottle of water, and then food, and then they call, there's a med call, they leave it down, and oh, I left my bag, I left this, I left that.
It's true.
Don't. I agree, the on-call book is fantastic, but common things are common, there are certain conditions in the hospital. If it is out of the ordinary, you shouldn't be dealing with it. You should be calling somebody. If it's hypokalemia, hypotension, hypertension, I have a policy that I have a few drugs in my head. If the patient's hypertension, I've got a drug in my head and a dose, and I stick to that if it's not contraindicated. Okay? You can choose your own. Yeah? You can do whatever you need to do. And really, everybody gets all hyped up about this med call and code and whatever. Really, you do nothing. Yeah. You stand there in the back, you watch everybody do everything else, and you act busy, and somebody gives you the syringe and says, go and get a venous blood gas quickly. And you act busy and you get paid for it. And I do is I take it and give it to the wardsman to go down and get the result. When the result comes back, I take the piece of slip and I give it to the doctor.
It's true.
Yeah? It's not a big deal. Really. They're not going to get you to do CPR. Yeah? They're not going to get you to intubate this patient. Trust me. Okay. Before you even say intubation, the 3 registrars are over your head. Yeah? You're not going to get, as an intern, as Andre said, you can do as much as you want to. The consultants will tailor things to suit you. But you've got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy that 12 months, you'll be really stressed in your second year. That's what eat well, get a good rest. I know I didn't do that very well, but on call, best time of your life. Best time. Best experience I had was working. let me put it this way. I made 95,000 in my intern year. Okay? And Tweed salaries are lower than Queensland. What? I did so much of on-call. I used to work Saturday, Sunday, evening. It's overwork, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. I used to go, do a ward round or do the ward jobs, pick up the phone. The phone's irritating me. Yeah. Nonetheless, any questions? Oh, yeah. One other thing, sorry. Andre spoke about courses. If you want to do surgery, you want to do ICU, or you want to do anesthetics, this month is the month you put your application in for EMST. Okay? Because you can't get onto EMST. You can't get onto the program if you can't get onto EMST. And the waiting list is 2 years. No.
I applied at the end of internship, and my EMST is next month.
Yeah.
So that's how long the waiting list is.
Yeah. It's 2 years. There's 200 people ahead of me on the waiting list, and I applied beginning of internship.
You applied with this,
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. You can apply.
You need to provide a number.
No.
They ask you for the date of your graduation.
Yeah, that's it.
But you know when you.
And Jazz, he did a lot of, if you want to do surgery or any of that, he did a lot of the radiology courses.
They call LifeBox radiology.
Yeah.
There's about 3 good ones.
Can you put that on your CV?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're really, they're actually alright.
In New South Wales, you need a consultant to be your referee, and they will call the consultant. Okay. And rollbacks occur right until November. So don't panic if you get cans or whoop. You will come back. Okay? And I can't remember the guy's name at Gold Coast, but if you're really nice to him, he gives you good rotations. Remember his name?
No, but Terry, there was a lady, he bought her flowers and 2 boxes of chocolate. He's an ICU reg now, so he did something right.
Yeah, there's a guy who controls the rosters at Gold Coast, and he's really cool.
There's one at every hospital. Yeah. They're kind of
and they know you're an intern because they can manipulate you. So you are just an intern. Queensland, they don't even look at your CV.
You don't even have to put one up if you don't.
Yeah, it's an optional
thing.
It's an optional thing. And what is your second question?
Okay, well, for instance, that CV is what other things can you
Passing fifth year is really good. With the really good marks is really good. I think I honestly everybody gets all hyped up about doing courses and doing ATLS and ACLS and I used to teach ACLS at Bond, and a lot of people. It made no difference. It made absolutely no difference. I'll tell you the questions that occur at Tweed, the interview questions. Your consultant's late. You've got 40 patients on the ward. How would you organize your morning? And nothing to do with your courses, nothing to do with your thing. You have a patient's hypokalemic and a patient's having chest pain. Which one would you go to first in your ward call? Simple things like that. Common things are common. Internship is the easiest year you're gonna find. I'm telling you, it's gonna so much so you're gonna feel like when you get to second year, you feel, oh my God, I've lost all my knowledge because I've been babied through this. You really got a feel for studying again in your second year. That's what I think anyway.
The places where you have merit-based assessment, you should be able to Google what points are allocated for what things. So it'll be things like, of course, you have to have a medical degree. Some places care about your marks, most don't, as long as you have a medical degree. Then there'll be other degrees. So if you've got an MBA or whatever it is, a PhD in something, there'll be points allocated for that. Most places will give points for leadership things. So if you've been president of MSSBU, you'll get points for that. But also things like sporting activities, cultural activities, then research, so presentations, posters, any little bits of research that you've done. Most places will want some evidence of that, and then courses on top of that. That's generally the sort of thing.
And the talk is Melbourne. That's Melbourne.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melbourne, you know,
Main
everything.
issue.
I didn't even bother with Melbourne, honestly. They were like too finicky.
It
You know,
was
and for the lowest pay.
With research, one of the common pitfalls is everyone gets worked up about research to get on training programs when they're med students. The training programs have all changed. Now, if your research presentations are not within the last 3 years, they mean nothing. So for surgery, anything you do in med school does not count because you have to now do a PHO year. So the earliest you'll get on is 4 years. So anything you present as a med student doesn't count anymore. Sure, it looks good on your CV, but in terms of points, it means nothing.
And I was talking to one of the anesthetists a couple of days ago, and you know they look at more audits now. You know the number of audits you've done as part of for the anesthetics application, rather than research, because they feel too many people are trying to get involved in research and are getting too stressed about it. And you know, on that note, Tweed offers a great opportunity. You can do any amount of audits. I've done 3 audits already. So you know, great opportunity to do in the smaller hospitals as well.
So I just want to ask, the level of on-call that you did, is that something that's really unique to your situation, or is it there are a lot
You can
of
do as
opportunities
much
for
as
us
you
to
want.
do that?
I did it as well. I did 7 in 5 dreams. That was probably the most I did.
So in Tweed you get allocated. There's a roster, unless you're in emergency. As an intern in emergency, you're not allowed to work on call. So the rest of the specialty you have to work, and you can actually get rostered to it. But a lot of people don't want it, so they offer it up, and you know you can choose to take it or not. It gets a bit much, you know, after a while. But in the beginning of the year, I thought the more on call I did, I'd get more experience, and that's what I did. Towards the end of the year, I didn't do that.
I have 2 questions. Does New South Wales look at CV?
Yes.
They do.
Yes. Yeah, they look at your CV. They don't allocate you points, but they look at your CV, the way, you know, the things that you've done. They do look at your marks. They do, yeah.
In determining what hospital you look at?
No, if you go to an interview. So like at Tweed, if you get your allocation, if you get allocated to an interview at Tweed, they will look at all of that, yes.
And also as a P2, is there any point in applying to, say, Concord Hospital, Westmead, Central?
Someone and I got
Yeah.
Westmead.
Yeah,
Vim got Westmead, yeah.
And a few people got RPA as well. Who was Peter? No.
No, Peter got Liverpool.
Put it this way, if you don't apply, you won't get it.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's what we all said. So we literally just applied, and it was free, so we just went nuts.
But I don't want to then get shafted to Albury.
That's unfortunately that's the same is going to apply for Queensland. You know, you're going to apply to Gold Coast and you can get shafted to
If you
Cairns.
put Liverpool in your P2, you probably some chance to get it.
I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Or like
Yeah.
if you put in your PN first, I think you will get it.
What's the one out west?
That's Penrith, the PN. The
Yeah.
one in
Oh, yeah.
Penrith.
So
That's
a lot of people got
tertiary
that,
hospital, which is
yeah.
a huge trauma center. They have a massive catchment area.
And the Blacktown? Is that
Yeah,
Blacktown?
Blacktown's the other one. So everyone who put Blacktown got
Got Blacktown, yeah.
Bankstown is the other one. So if you go out of the central city area, you're more likely to get it. And in fact, most of the people that were serious about going to New South Wales do it. And so Wollongong, Tina went to Wollongong, yeah.
So is Westmead Central or is it?
No, Westmead is west, but it's quite popular even amongst the locals because they've got some very unique rotations at Westmead. Transplant, for example, which is very unique to every hospital.
So my husband works in Brisbane, not in health, and so we don't ultimately want to get back to Brisbane. I know that you can put in applications for like a spouse or special exemption, but then I tried to read it online. It's really difficult to understand the
Yeah,
technology.
I'll explain that to you. I applied for that process, through that process as well, because I have a son, and he was at school, at a special school, and we went through the process of applying for it. They're very specific, and they're very dogmatic about what they want. Your husband's got to be in a research facility, or doing some sort of research. He's got to be doing something that's non-transferable. You got to be if he's working for Queensland Health or
No,
government.
he's not in medicine.
Queensland Health.
No, he's not in medicine at all.
Yeah, but for okay, so any government department is transferable. So if he works for a government department, it's transferable. So if the company that he works for has a facility in Brisbane and Gold Coast, then I'd like. With children, it's about special needs only.
I know someone that used that and actually worked to her advantage. She was an international student in Australia, and her husband was an internet royal, and she actually got loyal.
Yeah.
So
If
based on that,
you can do that. If your husband's in medicine, it's easier to do it because you get 2 intern spots.
So he was a J-Hope that year, she was a G.
Any other questions?
Just on that point, when I was sitting there 2 years ago, it's quite rigid, and they outline everything on the website and basically provide all the information.
Because a lot of the website says non-transferable. So for someone, he owns his own company, but he works for Brisbane. It's like, how do you define non-transferable?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can only try.
You can only put it in, make sure you have exactly each piece of documentation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people apply, list out pieces of documentation, and that's where you get that.
It's about being organized with that application, especially when you're applying for that kind of thing. Anything else? Hey. 18th of May, applications open, and it's a 2-part application. You have to apply to Etty as well as to Tweet directly. Okay, and I encourage all of you to, especially those that did rotations there, use the consultants that you worked with in that hospital because it's easy for them to call them. Anything else? Yes.
So in Queensland, the way it works is if you don't get your first preference, you get the option to tentatively accept, which puts you in another round of offers. Now, you should ask Farhan because he was actually there. So what it is everyone who didn't get their first goes into this random allocation and literally pull your name out of the hat. And pretty much the sooner up you get called out, the, I guess, closer to Brisbane Hospital you get, and that in itself is a random thing. When you get given a rollback offer, you literally get a phone call, and that phone call you have to say yes or no. That's it. If you miss that call, it's an automatic no. So I know when they tell you when that day is. Someone from the uni will actually be involved in that, so it's a transparent process. Someone from UGroup for the mod goes. So I know people who took the day off and literally sat next to their phone. Because, like I said, people got rolled back to royal. And if the rollback doesn't work, it's annoying because it's a random process to get your job, then it's a random process to be rolled back. So if you don't get your first pick straight away. So we've been talking about Jazz a lot, but Jazz got Mackay as his first preference and got rolled back to Townsville. Whereas I know people who got Cairns and then got rolled back to Royal. So he ended up going to Tweed through the special Tweed thing because he had that in his pathway. It worked out well for him. He's at St. George now, so.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing. In your second year, you can apply to wherever you want, even with the 2-year contract. In New South Wales, you have a 2-year contract with that hospital. So you can break that contract and go to another hospital. It's no dramas.
Honestly, don't overthink it. I think that's the tip I have because we really overthought this process. And at the end of the day, we realized there is nothing you can do now to change where you will end up. And it's only for a year, so it doesn't matter. And you'll be surprised when you get to the other end how much better it works out. So just make the most of what you get and just go with it.
Yeah, I think internship in Queensland starts on the 18th of January. I would say enjoy your December, January, and start fresh. And then you have 2 weeks, I think, of orientation, eh?
1 week.
1 week.
It's
I tweet you get 2 weeks orientation.
You just get paid to turn up, and this is where tea room is. It's great.
And food is always provided as education session. So easy. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just before Dr. Jason goes, I'd just like to present a token of appreciation from Messi. Thank you very much. Right, due to the time of being 9:25, we will be wrapping up the event for tonight. However, for the people that weren't able to make tonight, we have recorded tonight's event for the 5th years. And